Welcome, everyone, to the Asian Voices radio podcast, where you'll find real Asian American conversations, including all those topics you are too afraid to ask your Asian parents. I'm your host, Melissa May, and in honor of the podcast's season 2 finale, we thought it was only fitting to bring on two very special guests. One is a 14-year-old fashion designer who uses her gift of design to help others. She has been named People's Hero by People's Choice Award and named 21 Under 21 by Pop Sugar Unstoppable Young Women Manifesting a Brighter Future and Voices of Change from 17. She has spoken at numerous rallies, conferences, news segments, as well as TV specials to raise awareness and create a petition to include AAPI history in the school curriculum. And our other amazing special guest is her mom. This amazing woman is a full-time architect and momager. Besides designing tall buildings all over the world, she designs furniture, posters, invitations, and just about anything that is design related. Please help me welcome fashion designer Ashlyn So and her momager, Angela Wu. Good morning. Hi, beauties. How are you?
Hello.
We're good.
That was so flattering. I don't think it's us.
I wanted to include so much more, but we've only got so much time. So let's jump right in. Angela, I'll start with you. What was Ashlyn like growing up before she decided to become an official amazing fashion designer? Were there any other hobbies that she liked to do besides sewing?
Well, I think that she's always been very creative, and she always have a very particular mind. I remember that back when she was 2 in a stroller, I would bring her go shopping, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I would pick out 2 pieces that I couldn't decide what they are, and I would raise it up in front of her and say, well, okay, is it left hand or right hand? And she would put her little finger and she would point to the one that I always thought is like slightly, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is better. And it's like an experiment. It became an experiment I tried over and over again, and it always works. So, that's when I realized there's something of a spark in her. There's something different. And like all other little girls too, she has a mind of her own what she wants to wear. So she's always very, very particular about that.
Did you know from a young age, Angela, when she started kind of putting her outfits together? I believe she was 18 months when she was like, you know what, I'm going to do this myself.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that it was at some point I just thought, okay, I am a control freak, because after all, I am an architect, and so I just give her like pre-approved, clothes in her drawers in her little closet, and she just picks them out, and pretty soon it's just like, okay, you just pick out your own. Here it is. We go shopping, and I just stop picking out things for her. It's not worth the struggle.
What a gift. Because, that's one less thing to worry about. So Ashlyn, jumping to you. This is kind of a loaded question, but we'll break it in pieces. When, where, and how did you first start getting interested in sewing? And have you always been interested in fashion? And lastly, who or what inspired you?
So I first started sewing when I was around 6, but I actually learned the concept of sewing when I was in Montessori preschool, where we would sew stuffed animals and little Christmas ornaments, and I just loved that idea, so I wanted to continue that. And so when I was 6, I decided I wanted to get back into that. And I asked my mom if I could go to a sewing class. And when she said yes, I went to my first class. I just fell in love with fashion and designing and just being able to be creative in this kind of space. And I have always pretty much been interested in fashion. I don't remember it, but I just knew that I kind of my own outfits and and a lot of my mom definitely inspires me every day. She does so much for me and for my brother. And I just think the people around me were the people that helped shape who I'm becoming. Yeah.
That's right, Ashlyn. You're still growing. Was there or is there a particular designer that you really get inspiration from, or try to take some of their ideas? Or do you even get some inspiration from some of the buildings and things your mom has designed?
Yeah, like I do get a lot of inspiration from like the buildings my mom designs, and like just like pictures she shows me of like the shapes or like the patterns. But also like fashion designers that inspire me are like Philip Lim, and because he's like, both a fashion designer and an activist, and he's like done, work for our community, but he's also like a fashion designer. And I feel like that's kind of the space I want to be into.
Oh, Ashlyn, you are creating your own space in yourself, Ashlyn. So it's pretty amazing. Jumping back to Angela, during the pandemic, when hate crimes and incidents against Asian Americans specifically started to rise, what was your and your family's initial reaction? And were there any measures that you took to keep your family safe? It sounds like you also have a boy as well. So how'd you keep everyone safe?
Well, I think that we were fortunate enough that all of our jobs, mine and my husband's, that we were able to work immediately remote. And being in California, everyone was, already have super high speed Wi-Fi and all that. So the transition was okay. And school went into online almost right away. It was, a little rough at the transition, but it was okay. We did a lot of online shopping and things like that. And when we go out, if we do, right, and to the outside, it's wearing masks and such. But we also do kind of, watch what's happening on the news and on social media. And we kind of started talking about and seeing how there's a shortage in masks. And it was just very difficult for anyone to get masks, and being in kind of where we were used to wearing masks from the times when we had the really bad fires that were happening. So we kind of had some, but then it was like, oh, that's not the right mask. And, so all that was just kind of difficult. And we started to try to stay indoors as much as we can. But as a family, we also think positively and thought, oh, what are the chances and how many times can we actually be always together, like 24/7? So, in a way, it kind of, we thought,
a blessing and a curse.
Wow, our kids are only going to grow up, right? like this kind of nice. I don't know how they feel. They're like, oh my gosh, my parents are on me all the time.
Well, jumping to you, Ashlyn, since the COVID-19 pandemic started, you've made over 1,000 masks for frontline workers. You were only 12 at the time. And were you always so considerate and giving? Was this kind of an outlet for you during the pandemic to do something good while stuck in the house?
Yeah. So when I first saw the shortage of masks and how they were taking homemade masks, I was like, oh, well, this is perfect, because I would love to help out, because they're putting their lives at risk, and I can use the skills that I have to be able to help the doctors and the all the frontline workers. So I just decided maybe I should start making these masks. And we found a little pattern online from this hospital, and I feel like this is the first time I had ever done something so big to help so many people, and I was just really happy that I could, because I feel like I've always wanted to do something for my community and help out my community, but I didn't know how or what I could do with the skills that I had. So I think that was the first time I was able to realize that, oh, I can apply the skills I already have into helping other people.
Yeah, I think she's
so great.
Trying to be very modest, if I may jump in and do the I'm a proud mom part.
Absolutely.
So she's always have a very kind heart, and I think that she always wanted to help. And a lot of times, actually, we've run into issues where they said, "Oh, you're not 12 yet. 12 is the minimum age to volunteer for anything." So, other than kind of some of these fundraising and the anti-bullying fashion show that she did when she was about 8 or 9, She also actually fundraised for a live auction for a local like a local nonprofit who helps people with clothing, medical care, finding jobs, finding housing for them, called Samaritan House. So they had a huge fundraising gala. Ashlyn donated her services to do a custom dress for a lucky winner. And so she was able to raise a lot of money for them. So, it was just things like that she does, that she really wants to do. And I think for the masks, she was able, at her age, she was able to have a direct impact. I think the direct impact, like the fact that she can see who she's helping, kind of also helps, because there's a lot of, it started with us seeing on Facebook and Nextdoor of people wanting masks. So then we would deliver it to their house. To then is like, then there are just more and more people who just reached out directly to us and say, hey, can you, we have nurses and doctors who needs masks. Can you give us some? And yeah, it's just kind of snowballed from there.
And I'm sure, Ashlyn, with your skill set, that these weren't just basic white masks. Can you talk a little bit about, I know you got the design from a website, but what kind of patterns did you add your own flair to it? Because I've seen your fashion designs and they've got a lot of flair.
Yeah, so for like the masks, I would, sometimes add like a little patch on the side, and it was just something like little fun to kind of brighten like, someone's day. And we also had like fun patterns and like, just kind of like sometimes there's like a burger patch or like, yeah, it was just something really cute like that. And I just like kind of wanted to like, brighten someone's day.
I'm sure just, they're looking in their mirror, changing their scrubs, and they see that little burger patch. I mean, that would make me smile. I don't know, but I'm sure that made a big difference for people. And knowing that someone at such a young age cared is huge. I hope you never lose that, Ashlyn. I'm so glad you've found it at such a young age. I know. In addition to being Ashlyn's mom, Angela, and working full time, you're also her spokesperson and manager. Were there any barriers or challenges that you've had to face, if any? And do you also manage her website and social media platforms? And how do you balance that, manage all that with your family and work all together?
Great question. I think when you become a mom,
a lot of questions.
You kind of learn the art of multitasking, and you just started making time. I think, I don't know, like people ask me that question and I can't answer it because sometimes when you have a lot of things to do, you just become more efficient. So maybe it's just the fact that some of the things that she's doing, I think, is so important, and that it doesn't matter that I'll make time. And I think every parent would actually be that way, whether it's helping their kid's career or volunteering in their kid's school, which I used to do also when she was in elementary school. So just kind of using, skill sets that we have and just help out the school, especially in the arts arena where it's lacking, right? A lot of public schools need help with that. So, I think it's just, I am fully on board with her message and what she tries to do. And I'm just coming from a point where I will do everything that I can to help her get to where she wants to be and what she wants to do. I'm her door opener. She gets sick of me saying that, but I'm her door opener. She tells me what door to open. I try to find the door and then I open.
And I feel like Angela, you're not one to just open the door. You'll knock that thing down and make it a permanent door. In the best way possible.
That is the door that she wants, yes.
Now, Ashlyn, let's be honest with our listeners. Growing up, as a 14-year-old is difficult. It's challenging, and especially now that we're back in person in school, and you have created a name for yourself, and you've been in fashion shows and all that. Has it been difficult, adjusting to that lifestyle, balancing your social life, school, and your passion? And have you faced any adversity from fellow peers? Sometimes when you meet certain, people have mentioned, oh, my teachers gave me a hard time, fellow students gave me a hard time. Has that happened to you? And how have you worked through that if you've had to deal with stuff like that?
Yeah, like definitely that's like a very like common problem. And like I think not just like me, but like literally like I feel like every kid of color in like a school will like experience kind of this kind of like issue. But with like my work and balancing it, I feel like there's like definitely it's kind of hard to like you know like go out with my friends, and then also I have like so much work to do at home, and like I'm just thinking about that, and then she's like so it's like I don't know, it's just like it's like really hard to like kind of balance it. And like I feel like sometimes like I can't be like an actual like kid kind of but I feel like when I get older, this will like be able to I'll like have a really like a good like life kind of thing. But back to like your other question about like at school, there's like definitely a lot of like peers who will talk about other people's race, and like kind of like they'll just be like a kid. And I feel like there's like not much, like I don't know, there's like I don't know what I could do about it, and like sometimes I do like tell my teachers and stuff, but like it's kind of like hard to like kind of like go past it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, it definitely does. I feel like a lot of BIPOC children, they go through what getting bullied and stuff like that. Have you taken any steps personally, whether it's talking with your family or with a someone at school that you trust, and kind of worked through some of that? And maybe you could give some advice to younger listeners that are listening on what you did, and maybe what they can do to be supported in school, because it's important.
Yeah. I've definitely talked to my mom about it, and like I do have like this one teacher that I really trust, and he's like our ethnics teacher, and I feel like he's pretty understanding. But I feel like as like a kid, like I don't know, as a kid, I wouldn't want it to go into like a big deal kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of other people feel that way too. But I feel like if I could change something, I would probably make it into a deal. Like I would probably, tell a teacher or like about it, or like someone of authority, because like I feel like I mean obviously I didn't do it, but like it's like a mistake that I made that I would feel like other people should change. Like I feel like it's like if we don't tell anyone, then nothing is gonna happen, which is true, because like I feel like that's happening right now, and and definitely I think just like telling someone at the school who you trust, and like it could be like a counselor too. And it could just be like you work through it personally and you don't want to tell anyone, but you could also, work through it like public, or publicly, and like kind of tell like someone of authority, and like kind of like report it, because, maybe this is like something that you don't want to happen to other kids, So it's like kind of like your kind of path that you want to choose, because I feel like both ways, it's just, in the end, it's just about you, and like what you feel like, and like how you're gonna go through it, mentally too.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, there's no manual, I feel like, on how to go through stuff. So I'm glad, Ashlyn, that you've found your own way, and you're comfortable in your space. But you call yourself an accidental activist. Tell us when and how this happened for you.
So I call myself an accidental activist because I like, when I first started my rally, I like had no idea it was just going to be like this big, and I didn't realize I was just going to be like involved in like such a huge movement. But I thought it was just going to be, something small, something like raise awareness in my community, but it turned into something big. And so that's why I kind of call myself like an accidental activist. Yeah.
Oh, that's an amazing accidental thing to do, Ashlyn. Angela, for you, any words of wisdom again or advice that you'd like to give, especially to parents whose children are listening right now in terms of dealing with bullying, and because of, the way a child looks, or just managing, a child's career, or, if a child has this passion of jumping into activism, any words of advice?
Well, I would take the easiest question first, which is advice for your children. I think it's really let your children lead. I think that let them tell you what their passion is. If they don't have a passion yet, help them find one. And it's a process, it's a journey. And we're all learning while we're doing this. No one knows the answer. I know zero about sewing when she first started. I don't even know how to use a sewing machine. I was like, what's a bobbin? Like, I know absolutely nothing.
Wow.
But YouTube and internet is your friend. You can always learn from all of that stuff. So, just follow your children's lead, and that would be kind of what I think. And everything is a journey. We learn from our mistakes, anything from kind of all the bullying incidents, and we are all kind of in a live and learn moment, experimenting, like what works, what doesn't work. And again, I would also take let your child lead where you want to go. Like, there are parts of me that when she tells me what happened to her, that I would all go like, Mama Bear. And then I thought, wait, if I do Mama Bear now, I would make myself feel better. But what happened to her when she needs to kind of protect herself, right? I'm not giving her the tools that she needs to work through it. I can't do Mama Bear all the time. She's 14. I need to step back a little there. I know I still make mistakes sometimes. So everything is a journey. It's okay. I hope your children knows that they love you no matter what. And you do it from the fact that you want to protect them and that you love them. So I would say it's a live and learn moment, and let them lead you on the next step, and you can give them options, guide them. But I think just follow their lead.
It's pretty amazing. I don't have any children, but I feel like kids are a lot smarter than they come off. They know a lot more about life than they play their cards right, I feel like.
Yeah, because they don't, they're not affected by all the noise, right? There's so much noise from where we are. They come from a place of purity, and they come from kind of very single-minded, great idea, right? Like, it's like, well, it's supposed to be this way. So, why aren't we doing it that way? And they kind of help you. They're like a little light. They're like, oh yeah, why am I letting everything else and all the nuance kind of preventing me from doing certain things? So she actually got me braver also. And I learned a lot from Ashlyn. So
we teach each other things that we just never knew we had. I don't know what a bobbit is either. So Angela, I'm in the same boat. I think it's remarkable. I wonder where she got, Ashlyn, you got the genes for sewing from. But now some people might be thinking, oh, she's a fashion designer, but like, you're a legit fashion designer. This isn't just, I make clothes and I wear them myself. You've been shown, your collections have been shown in 5 fashion shows, right? The first one was in Texas for an anti-bullying fundraiser. And then most recently in Paris, combining fashion with activism. How exciting and inspiring, girlfriend. How inspiring. So tell us about this experience, and starting with your first fashion show in Texas.
Yeah, so when I did my first show in Texas, it was for an anti-bullying campaign, and I was around 8 then, yeah, and it was my first collection, so it was definitely super stressful. And looking back, it was definitely made by an 8-year-old, but
still better than I think I could do. So
yeah, but it was just I think it was a really good experience, because it kind of made me, get the experience, and it paved the way for me to, go to New York and go to Paris. but yes, so like my most recent Paris one, it was inspired by Bruce Lee's quote, "Be like water," and it's kind of about being able to not stereotype other people and how people are just people, and it's we got to celebrate our differences because we're all multi-layered and multifaceted people. And so so the collection was inspired by water, and so all of the designs were kind of like liquidy, and I like experienced with a lot of like new fabrics that I usually don't use and I haven't used before. So it was it was an amazing show, and I'm like still shocked that it happened because I like feel like it didn't happen, but I mean it did, so it just kind of feels like a dream. I don't know. But yeah, it was an amazing experience.
And Ashlyn, hopefully people go to your website to see it in person. But I was looking at it, and it looks like you had such diversity in your models. They just weren't all one ethnicity and one size and one shape. And where did you find your models? And where was your inspiration to use a diverse canvas for your clothing?
Well, a lot of my models were actually friends and activists of mine. So they they also have been very involved in like the Black Lives Matter community and the Stop Asian Hate community, and they're all like really nice, and we're kind of like it kind of just created like a new like friendship with all of us. And I reached out to them actually to model for the first time last
New York,
last year in New York. And so I was that collection was also like kind of combining fashion and activism, so I thought it's meaningful to kind of have the models also as activists.
And I'm sure in some way, shape, or form, you've inspired young models that may not fit the stereotypical model type runway model. And yet here are young girls of all different shapes and sizes walking down a runway with beautiful fashions on them designed by you. Wow. I hope I can go to one of your fashion shows some days, because it's more than just, it seems like, clothing walking down a runway. It's got a whole other purpose and meaning and substance to it. Ashlyn, oh my goodness. To those that are listening to you right now, Ashlyn, what kind of message would you like to relay, especially to the youth that's hopefully listening, who aren't maybe getting the support with what they want to do, maybe with their passions or hobbies, or are searching for their own passions in their life?
Well, I think my advice is, you can start small. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing. Like I started with a little stuffed animal, and I think you can start with just such a small little thing, and it can become big, if you just keep, building it up. And I think definitely like social media is a big part of that, being able to share your work and share what you have to bring and, put it out in the world. It can, just start as small as, making, music on on like YouTube, or like, singing in the streets. Is just, where you can start with, this, and it can become, so big. And, like big artists kind of like started that way too. And, it's definitely just by finding your passion. It can be in places you don't even think of. Like it could be something you enjoy and you do every day, but you didn't like think it could be a huge like hobby or like a big passion of yours. But I definitely think with the skills that you have, you can find your passion. And
Jumping back, both of you could probably answer this, but you were talking about social media and, platforms like that. Ashlyn and Angela, there's a lot of trolling and things that are sent via social media. I think it's, that screen of protection that people feel like they can say anything they want to. Angela, as a mom, how do you manage that in terms of keeping Ashlyn away from some of the not so great things on social media? And then Ashlyn, how do you manage, if you do receive something that is not so positive, what are the steps you take to kind of deal with that?
Okay, so like for me, I don't read like a lot of the stuff, and
Smart.
I'm not. Yeah, like I have like my own like separate like private accounts that are just with my friends and stuff, and I would have like the bigger accounts like managed by my mom, because I think it's like it also like goes to your head, and I don't really want that to happen, especially because I'm starting at a young age and I want to be like aware. And yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I go mama bear.
Sure.
On all the comments and such, I kick them out, block them, whatever that's
Good.
needed. And then for the ones that are important, those are the ones that she responds, and I show it to her, and she kind of does it all herself. The genuine ones and all
like
the
getting
other
on
ones.
this podcast.
That's right. So yeah, there's a lot of filtering, let's say, and I think maybe for now, like social media seems to understand what I filter out, and and she is a kid, so there are a lot of times where you just have to be very straightforward about it, and just either not have her look at it. For the ones that we can't control, usually I don't let her look at it, and it's like, no, I don't think you want to see this.
It's sad because 99.9% of the things those people say aren't true, and it's just like, where do you get the time to do something so not nice? But with that said, unfortunately, we're almost out of time today, but I want to thank our guests, Ashlyn and Angela, for sharing both of their amazing careers and journeys with us. Both of them, I feel like, are just beginning, and I hope both of their stories will serve as an inspiration to all those listening right now. Now, ladies, do you have any social media or websites that we can follow you or learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so where I'm really active is on my Instagram. So it's Ashlyn, ASHLYN, and then So, SO_, and that's my Instagram. And then for my website, it's where you can kind of look at more of my work and like kind of, be able to reach out. So that's just same thing, Ashlyn So, and then .com.
And Mama, Angela? We got to promote you too, Mama.
I think that's where I won't have time for myself. I've been asked for many. I think she and I has like emerged as one.
Yeah.
Well, you are a dynamic, strong female duo. So if you ever have time to do it, Angela, I'm sure people would love to see your work. It sounds like you can pretty much design anything, from buildings to invitations and everything in between. Once again, a huge thank you to our guests, Ashlyn and Angela, for joining us today. Now, if you have any suggestions for future guests or topics, we'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Asian Voices Radio is produced by Asian Culture and Media Alliance, a nonprofit that empowers our AAPI community with a voice through media arts. If you'd like to support our program and make a donation, please visit AsianVoicesRadio.com. Thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Melissa May, and I'll see you next season on Asian Voices Radio. Until then, take care, everyone.